What's up, everybody? It's your boy, rather grown man, Ralph Anthony Garcia, also known as R4, the legal, the loyal, the regal, the royal, Ronin Ralph, your master of ceremonies. I introduce to you the new version of Ralph Reads Raw. Slightly a new format, but things are pretty much the same. Just a little more polished, if you will. We don't want to waste each other's time. Anyways, today I present to you the H8Ful 8. This was written by none other than Quentin Tarantino, and I shall attempt to give you my rendition of this fine screenplay. So without any further ado, for me or for you, let's get it poppin'. But before we do, let me just say, I'm not gonna be perfect. This is not gonna be a TED Talk where everything has to be presented perfectly. It's not. This is Ralph Reads Raw and all the annoyances that go with it. Alright then. Being that we're not gonna be perfect, we're gonna move right along. So with all those things being said, ladies and gentlemen, let the reading commence. 70mm Super Scope Wide Shot of Wyoming. EXT. White Winter Wyoming Mountain Range. Snowy day. A breathtaking 70mm filmed as in the whole movie. Snow-covered mountain range. A staggering opening vista set to appropriately nerve-jangling music. Then, in the bottom left of this 70mm Super Cinema Scope frame, we see a stagecoach being pulled by a team of 6 horses, rip-snorting through the bottom of the landscape. Setting is an undetermined time, 6 or 8 or 12 years after the Civil War. Cut to EXT stagecoach, moving, snowy day. Now, still in big Super CinemaScope 70mm filmed gloriousness, we follow along with the lone stagecoach driver fighting and guiding these 6 horses to shelter. We follow alongside the horses, working our way from the back horse in mid-stride to the tip of the lead horse's nose. We follow along the 12 horse hooves as they tear up and spit out snow and dirt. We take the driver's POV down the hurdling 6 horse team. We follow along the big stagecoach wagon wheel, then up to the stagecoach door window, complete with curtains, which beyond we can make out the figures of a man and a woman sitting side by side. 70mm CU of the stagecoach driver, OB, pronounced OB, as he whips the horses forward, keeps the wheels on the road, and avoids the rocks. Then he sees something up ahead. He pulls back on the reins. Cut to the horses' mouths as reins are being pulled back, their hooves slowing in the snow. Obi still fighting the reins, the horses still trying to stop their vigorous glide, snorting and coughing hot breath. The horses finally settle to a stop. OB calms the halted horses as he looks straight ahead and down at the impediment to his vehicle's progress. OB's point of view, what OB sees on the road is a black man in the middle of it, sitting on a nice leather saddle laid on top of 3 frozen dead white men, smoking the pipe. The black man, not the 3 dead white guys. The black man removes the pipe from his mouth and says to the man behind the 6 snorting horses, "Got room for one more?" OB looks at the black man sitting on the 3 dead white men in the middle of the road, smoking a pipe amongst falling snowflakes, and says, "Who the hell are you? And what happened to them?" The black man is an older man, a sly Lee Van Cleef type with a bald pate, silver hair on the sides, a distinguished mustache, and a tall, slim frame. He wears the dark blue uniform pants of the U.S. Cavalry with the yellow stripe down the side of the pant leg, tucked into black regulation cavalry riding boots. His shirt and undergarments are non-regulation and worn for comfort, style, and warmth, including a long charcoal gray wood scarf. But his dark, heavy winter coat is his officer winter coat from the U.S. Cavalry, with the officer insignias ripped off. On top of his bald pate, he wears a super cool, non-regulation cowboy hat he picked up sometime after the war. The northern officer says, "Name's Major Marquis Warren, former U.S. Cavalry. Currently, I'm a servant of the court." The northern officer stands up from the saddle perch on the 3 frozen dead white men. "These are a couple of no-goods I'm bringing into market. I got the paperwork on them in my pocket." "You taking them into Red Rock?" "I figure that's where you're going, right?" We see a terrible blizzard kicking up in the background. The stagecoach has obviously been trying to beat it to shelter. "That damn blasted blizzard's been on our ass for the last 3 hours. Ain't no way we're gonna make it all the way to Red Rock before it catches us." "So you hightailing in halfway to Minnie's haberdashery?" "You know I am." "May I come aboard?" "Well, Smoke, it's up to me." "Yes, but it ain't up to me." "Who's it up to?" "Fella in the wagon." "Fella in the wagon's not partial to company." "This ain't the regular line. The fellas in the wagon paid for a private trip, and I'm here to tell you, he paid a pretty penny for privacy, so if you want to go to Minnie's with us, you got to talk to him." "Well, I suppose I'll do that." Major Marquis Warren starts to walk around to the stagecoach door when a rifle barrel comes out of the window pointing at the former cavalry officer. We hear a hammer click. The voice behind the rifle yells out, "Hold it, black fella!" Major Marquis Warren stops. Voice behind the rifle, "Before you approach, you take them 2 guns of yours and you lay them in that rock over yonder. Then you raise both your hands way above your hat. Then you come forward, molasses-like." Major Warren looks up at OB and says, "Real trusting fella, huh?" "Not so much." Major Warren walks over to the rock that the voice behind the rifle chose as a good place for Marquis to relieve himself of his weapons. He places 2 revolvers hanging on his hip on said rock. Then, raising his hands above his hat, he slowly approaches the stagecoach. We see a bit of a face and a hat in the dark beyond the window frame in the stagecoach door. The voice behind the rifle snaps, "That's far enough." The major stops. The rifle barrel is taken inside the window. Then the fella in the wagon kicks open the stagecoach door so Major Warren can't see inside. The fella in the wagon is a rough-looking white man, lawman type, with a drop-dead black hat and a walrus-like mustache above his top lip. He one-arms a rifle in Major Warren's direction. The other arm is handcuffed to the wrist of the female passenger/prisoner in the stagecoach with him. She sits across from him, her wrist cuffed to his wrist, his cuffed hand holding the pistol pointed at her belly. This once pretty white lady, maybe before the trip, maybe years ago, wears a once pretty dress and a once sexy skirt under a man's heavy winter coat. Her face is a collection of cuts, bruises, and scrapes, as if during this trip with the walrus mustached man, she took a few punches and falls. The walrus mustache man says, "Well, I'll be dogged. You a black fella I know, Colonel something Warren, right?" "Major Marquess Warren. I remember you too. We shared a steak dinner in Chattanooga once upon a time. You're John Ruth, the hangman." "That ain't me. How long's that been?" "Since that steak?" 8 months. "So why don't you explain to me what an African bounty hunter's doing wandering around in the snow in the middle of Wyoming?" "I'm trying to get a couple of bounties to Red Rock." "So you still in business?" "You know I am." "What happened to your horse?" "Circumstances forced us to take the long way round. My horse couldn't make it." "You don't know nothing about this filly here," motioning towards the woman with the barrel of his pistol. "Nope." "Don't even know her name?" "Nope." "Well, I guess that makes this one fortuitous wagon. I sure as hell hope so." John Ruth makes the introductions. "Major Marquis Warren, this here's Daisy Domergue. Domergue, to you, this is Major Warren." While keeping his hands raised, Major Warren touches the brim of his hat and nods slightly in her direction. Daisy Domergue, pronounced Domergue, gives Major Warren an open-handed wave with a free hand and says with a smile, "Howdy, nigger." That makes John Ruth chuckle as Major Warren frowns. "She's a pepper, ain't she? Now, girl, don't you know darkies don't like being called niggers no more and they found it offensive?" "I've been called worse." "Now that I can believe. Heard of her?" "Should I?" "Well, she ain't no John Wilkes Booth, but you might as well have heard tell about the price of her head." "How much?" $10,000. "Damn. What'd she do? Kill Lily Langtry?" "Not quite, but that 10,000's practically in my pocket. It's why I ain't too anxious to be handing out rides, especially to professionals open for business. Well, I sure can appreciate that. Only I ain't got no designs on her. One of my fellas is worth 4,000, one's worth 3,000, and one's worth 1. That's damn sure good enough for me." "Who are them fellas?" "Warren Vanders, Homer Van Houten, and Rebel Roy McCracken." "Let me see their paperwork. Like I said, molasses-like." Major Warren slowly removes the handbills from his winter coat pocket. John Ruth lowers his rifle from Major Warren's chest and takes the papers to study. He removes from his pocket a pair of spindly gold-framed reading glasses that he applies to his face. O.B., up on his driver's seat perch, yells back at them, "Look, I sure hate to interrupt y'all, but we got a cold damn blizzard hot on our ass. We're trying to beat the shelter. I realize that. Now shut your mouth and hold them damn horses while I think. The grizzled guy studies the handbills, then raises both of his eyes and the brim of his hat to study the black major still standing with his hands raised. John Ruth makes up his mind. Okay, boy, we'll give it a try. But you leave those pistols over yonder with the driver. Daisy Domergue says, You ain't really gonna let that nigger in here, is you? I mean, maybe up there with OB, but not in here. John Ruth takes the pistol in his cuffed hand, switches it to his free hand, and brings the iron weapon down hard on the side of Daisy's skull with a sickening, cracking sound. This knocks the woman onto the floor of the stagecoach on her hands and knees. Blood trickles from her hair and runs down to the side of her face. John Root leans his big hulking frame over her on the stagecoach floor and says with real grit, Now how you like the sound of them bells, bitch? Real pretty, ain't they? You open up your trashy mouth again, I'll knock out them front teeth for you, you got it? From the floor, Domergue says, Yeah, yanking her cuffed wrist hard with his arm. Let me hear you say I got it. Domergue looks up at the brute with hate flashing in her eyes and says, I got it. You damn well better. After Ruth is through dealing with Domergue, he turns back to face Major Warren. I'm gonna need some help tying these fellas up on the roof. Give OB $50 when you get to Red Rock and he'll help you. Well, I think OB's right. That storm's got me kind of concerned. We get going a lot faster, you help too. God damn it to hell! I'm already regretting this. Now, I can't likely help you tie fellas to the roof with my wrist cuffed to hers. And my wrist is gonna stay cuffed to hers, and she ain't gonna ever leave my goddamn side until I personally put her in the Red Rock jail. Now, do you got that? Yeah, I got it. Major Warren walks over to OB on his driver's perch. OB, you help me tie these fellas up on the roof, I'll make it worth your while when we get to Red Rock. I hear you're making $8,000 off of these dead fuckers. Yeah, I'll help you for $250. How's about $150? And first 2 days we in Red Rock, I pay for all your booze. They got them a social club in Red Rock, right? Why, yes, they do. I'll stick you a night there, too. Now, that's a good deal, son. OB lights up. Shit fire. That's a damn good deal. He leaps to the ground and shakes hands with the black major. You got a deal, Smoke. Let's get to it. Time cut. EXT Snow White, Wyoming Mountain Road. Snowy day, slow motion, empty frame. We hear the slow motion sounds of the horses running and grunting through cold. Then we see the noses of the 2 lead horses bob into frame. Then with a little more effort on their part, their faces. Slow motion horse hooves tear and kick up the snow as they move forward. We hear only the slow motion horse sounds. INT, stagecoach, moving, snowy day. Major Marquis Warren sits on the side of that stagecoach, preparing his pipe for smoking. John Root and Daisy Domergue, attached at the wrists, sit beside each other on the opposite side of the wagon. John Root's pistol is pulled and sits on his lap. Barrel lazily pointed in the direction of Domergue or Major Warren, if need be. John Root prepares his pipe for smoking as well. So what happened to your horse? He was pretty old. I done had him for a bit. When the weather took a turn for the worse, he did what he could. But it got to be too much for him. That's too bad. Yes, it is. Me and old Lash rode a lot of miles together. You might say he was my best friend if I consider stupid animals friends, which I don't. Nevertheless, I'm gonna miss him. John Ruth lights his pipe with a match stroke and says, I had a horse like that once, about 20 years ago. Called him Cauliflower. Used to call him my best friend. What happened to him? Some rattlesnake shot him out from under me. Did you make it right? The black man touches the match flame to the tobacco in the pipe bowl. John Ruth puffs some smoke out of the side of his walrus mustache. Oh, you know I did. EXT Snow White Wyoming Mountain Road Snowy Day. Overhead shot. Slow motion. The 6-horse pulled stagecoach with 3 dead frozen men now tied to the roof rides through frame. Back to the stagecoach, moving. Major Warren says, So, who's Daisy Domergue? A no damn good murdering bitch, that's who. How long you been hauling her? 5 days. Caught her trying to catch a boat to Italy. What happened to her face? Disagreements. I can see you ain't got mixed emotions about bringing a woman to the rope. If by woman you mean her? Jerking a thumb in Domergue's direction. No, I don't have mixed emotions. So you taking her into Red Rock to hang? You bet. Gonna wait to watch it? You know I am. I want to hear her neck snap with my own 2 ears. Domergue says wearily, Enjoy yourself, John. If the shoe was on the other foot, I'd laugh as you died. Now that I can't believe. You never wait to watch him hang? My bounties never hang, 'cause I never bring them in alive. Never? Never ever. We talked about this in Chattanooga. Bringing desperate men in alive is a good way to get yourself dead. Can't catch me sleeping if I don't close my eyes. Yeah, well, I don't want to work that hard. No one says the job was supposed to be easy. No one said the job's supposed to be hard either. But to that little lady is why they call him the hangman. When the handbill says dead or alive, the rest of us shoot you in the back from up on top of a perch somewhere, bring you in dead over a saddle. But when the roof, the hangman, catches you, you don't die by a bullet in the back. When the hangman catches you, you hang. Domergue to Major Warren. You overrate him, nigger. I'll give you, he got guts. But in the brains department, he like a man who took a high dive in the low well. Domergue laughs at her own joke. Suddenly, John Ruth elbows Domergue hard in the face. She screams as her hands go to her face. John Ruth leans closer to her and says, Now, Daisy, I want us to work out a signal system of communication. When I elbow you real hard in the face, that means shut up. Daisy looks at Ruth. She couldn't hate him more. You got it? I got it. Major Warren laughs. Daisy's eyes flash across the wagon over to the black man. She couldn't hate John Ruth more. That is, unless he was a laughing nigger. Then in that case, maybe she could hate him more. They ride along quiet for a bit when John Ruth asked Major Warren, I know we only met each other once before, and I don't mean to unduly imply intimacy, but, do you still got it? Major Warren, knowing perfectly well what the old dog is referring to. Do I still got what? The Lincoln letter. Of course. You got it on you? Major Warren nods his hat brim. Yes. Where? Major Warren takes 2 fingers and points at his heart. Right here. Look, I know you gotta be real careful with it at all. I can imagine you probably don't want to take it in and out of the envelope all that often. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd sure appreciate seeing it again. Well, like you said, I don't like taking it in and out of the envelope that often. However, seeing as you saving my life and all, I suppose I could let you read it again. John Ruth breaks into a big grin. Major Warren carefully takes out an envelope from his inside jacket pocket. John Ruth watches the envelope. Major Warren, ever so carefully, removes the letter inside the envelope. John Ruth puts on his spindly reading glasses, then carefully opens the letter from its folded position, then hands the open letter to John Ruth. Daisy Domergue has no idea what's up with this letter. John Ruth reads the letter, moving his lips along with the words, but not saying them out loud. Major Warren watches him read. John Ruth looks up from the letter to Major Warren sitting across from him. Old Mary Todd's calling, so I guess it must be time for bed. Old Mary Todd. That gets me. That gets me too. John Ruth turns to Domergue and holds out the letter in front of her. You know what this is, tramp? It's a letter from Lincoln. It's a letter from Lincoln to him. They shared a correspondence during the war. They was pen pals. This is just one of the letters. Daisy Domergue looks over at the letter with interest, then hocks up a loogie and spits it on the letter with a big splat. This shocks both Major Warren and John Ruth. Major Warren slams his fist into the right side of Domergue's face so hard he ends up punching her into the stagecoach door with such force it flies open, and Domergue tumbles out of the 6-horse-pulled vehicle, the handcuff chain taking John Ruth with her, as well as the Lincoln letter and John Ruth's rifle. Exterior Stagecoach Road, snowy day. Daisy Domergue and John Ruth go flying out of the speeding wagon, tumbling and somersaulting in the snow. Obie pulls up on the reins, yelling at the ponies, bringing the fast steeds to a slushy stop. John Ruth lies in the snow, still chained to the dazed Domergue, holding his arm in pain. John Ruth, cursing at the cold, of all the stupid, like to rip my goddamn arm off. Major Warren climbs out of the stopped vehicle. John Ruth takes out a small key and for the first time in the story unlocks the handcuffs that tie him to his female prisoner. For the moment, both John Ruth and Daisy Domergue are free. He doesn't want to unchain Domergue, but his arm hurts like the dickens, and he has to walk it off. Daisy Domergue spits some blood from her mouth into the snow. She touches her freed wrist. She watches John Ruth walk off the pain in his shoulder. Aw, he hurt his arm. Ain't that too bad, she thinks to herself. Major Warren looks for his Lincoln letter. John Ruth yells at the Union officer. I didn't drag her stinking ass up this goddamn mountain just for you to break her neck on the outskirts of town. You're the one that handed her my goddamn letter. I didn't give it to her. I gave it to you. Okay, it's both our faults. Major Warren gives him a look, then goes back to looking for his special presidential correspondence. John Ruther's arm feels a little better. He picks up the fallen rifle and approaches Domergue. With bloody teeth, Domergue looks up at Ruth and says, "That nigga like to bust my jaw. You ruin that letter of his, that nigga's gonna stomp your ass to death. And when he do, I'm gonna sit back on that wagon wheel, watch and laugh." Major Warren finds the letter. It's worse for the wear, but still intact. John Ruth calls to him. "How is it?" "She didn't help it none, but it's all right." Major Warren puts the Lincoln letter back in its envelope, then puts the envelope back in the pocket of his winter jacket. Then the colored Union officer scoops up a handful of snow and crafts a snowball. He looks at Domergue. She looks at him. "Is that the way niggers treat their ladies?" "You ain't no goddamn lady!" Major Warren throws the snowball in her face and trots off. John Ruth looks down at her. "You're about one wise word for being tied up on the roof with them other fellas. Now pick your trash ass up. Open your mouth again and I'll feed it a knuckle sandwich." O.B., the stagecoach driver, calls from off screen. "Hey, Mr. Ruth!" Answering without turning around. "What?" "We got another fella on foot up here on the road." "What?" He turns back around and glares down at Domergue. "Is that it, Daisy? Is that the surprise you got planned for me? 'Cause I know you got a surprise planned for me. Maybe the surprise is I'm tired of running. You're facing the rope, tramp. Ain't nobody gonna get tired of running from that." "You might be surprised, John." "If you counting on surprising me, Daisy, don't count on it." Major Warren and O.B. look down the road at something. John Ruth, rifle in hand, joins them. Point of view. Way down the snow-covered road, a lone, tiny figure of a man waves a lantern, trying to get their attention. "Considering there's a blizzard going on, a whole lot of fellas walking around, wouldn't you say, Major?" The Major looks at Mr. Ruth. "Considering I'm one half of them fellas, yeah, seems to be a lot of us." John Ruth points down the road. "You know that fella? I know me some people around here. I spent a lot of time on this mountain bitten out from bushwhackers. So maybe I know that fella and maybe I don't. But I wasn't expecting nobody." "You weren't, eh?" "No, I weren't." John lowers his rifle barrel till it's pointed at Major Warren. "This changes things, son. $8,000 is a lot of money for a nigger. But with a partner, 18's a whole lot better. I don't have a partner no more. So you say. Why don't you take a gander at those frozen fuckers up there? You won't find no holes in their backs. Well, okay, maybe not Rebel Roy McCracken. Him I did shoot in the back. But shit fire, he deserved it. He not only shot my partner, he tried to steal my damn horse." John Ruth, keeping the barrel of his rifle pointed at Major Warren's chest, takes a pair of handcuffs off his belt and throws them in the snow at the former cavalry officer's feet. "Put them on." "I ain't wearing handcuffs." "You put those on or you stop worrying about this whole thing right now." Major Warren gives Ruth a look, then bends down and puts on the handcuffs. As he does, he says, "You really think I'm in cahoot with that fella or her? That's my problem, son. I don't know. And until I do, you in chains."